Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Here on the Sheenapreneur channel, I share information about government contracting, veteran business content, and other business tips. What's going on, everyone? It is Sheena, aka Sheenapreneur, your favorite veteran, and I'm back. I know it's been a little minute since I've done a live, but we here, and I'm here with a very special guest, a veteran. Even though she's Air Force, we still gonna love her. We still gonna love her. But Tamika is like the powerhouse that a lot of people don't know of. And we're gonna talk about that a lot during this live, because I told her she gotta get out there because she's doing such amazing things in STEM, just everything with her nonprofit, with her for-profit. She even helped my daughter in her veterinarian journey. So she is a powerhouse by herself, like solo dolo. So please, Tamika, share a little bit about yourself, your background, and your company, please.
Thank you, Sheena, and thank you for having me on your channel today. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet everyone. My name is Dr. Tamika Head. I am the founder of PinkSTEM Incorporated. PinkSTEM Incorporated is a nonprofit 501c3 that was created to bring more girls into STEM fields and as well as minorities. And so our company was founded in 2012 while I was a middle school teacher. And it kind of stemmed from when I taught high school, middle school, and I knew that I wanted to teach them more about STEM, and I knew ways that I could do it. So that was how I got started.
Wow, I didn't even realize you were a middle school teacher. Lord have mercy. Look, you was looking for abuse. That's the one area where I'm like, nah, I can't do. So that's awesome. Thank you so much. And for those who don't know what STEM is, can you just tell us what STEM is?
Yes, STEM is the acronym for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And it was started before STEM was really a buzzword. And I was actually in school working on what my topic would be for my research. And my professor said, choose something that is near and dear to your heart. And I knew, based on my military background, based on when I taught high school chemistry, physics, all of those courses, the math, algebra courses, I didn't have a lot of girls and minorities wanting to sign up for my honors classes. So that was how it kind of became a topic for my research paper. And my research paper turned into my nonprofit. I had the research and I turned it into a business.
Okay, so the girl's smart. Look, I felt like I knew Tamika, but dang, I feel like I'm an audience member. I didn't know. Teaching what?
Yes.
Look, so since those who don't know, I was a slump in high school. Okay, I was like the worst student. Any teacher just not there, just not present. So that is very impressive. So I appreciate you sharing that. Those who are tuning in, please drop where you are located and ask your questions for Tamika, because again, like I say with all my guests, we may not get her back on this call. When she blow up, we may not get her back on there. So please ask your questions now. So as far as PinkSTEM, I know you have a couple other things that you do, but as far as PinkSTEM, like what types of opportunities have you gotten by way of government contracting and just in general? I know you just came back from Africa.
Yeah.
For the 20 million time, but go
ahead. So just a little bit about my background. Leaving high school, I took the ASVAB. I knew I wanted to go into the military because my dad, he was in the Air Force. I was a military brat. So when people ask me where I'm from, I say I'm from all over, because we traveled from South Carolina, Georgia, all the way up to DC. So I'm from several different locations, went to many different high schools, went to many different middle schools. So I'm pretty well versed and know how to get along with different people. And so going into my first career, it was an air traffic controller. And I really didn't know a lot about it. But based on my ASVAB scores, I was told I would do well in it. And one of my high school friends, he actually was a commercial pilot, and he was only 16. So he asked me if I wanted to go up to the control tower. I went with him. I was 17 at the time. I saw what air traffic controllers did. So that's why mentorship is important. And once I saw it, I said, you know what? I can do that. And it's just taking physics concepts, things that we take in class, and we're not sure how we're going to use them in the real world. When you have planes coming towards one another, that's when you use physics. That's when the math really matters. So
That's a good point.
yeah, so
Wow. Mhm.
yeah, that's how I try to tell students when they used to ask me when I was teaching them, well, where is this relevant? Where do I need to know this? It becomes relevant. And so I did air traffic control for 5 years. I became a trainer towards the end of it. And it was stressful, like people say. And so I don't think it takes a certain amount of smart. I don't think it's just a lot of hard work, dedication. I failed a lot of tests because you have to test a lot to stay in the career. So I tell you, it doesn't matter how smart you are or how smart you don't think that you are. It just takes determination. I know that my mother, she kept me grounded because she always told me if somebody else could do it, you can do it as well. And so going into that first career, I ended up cross training, and then I went into another AFSC in the Air
What is
Force.
the AFSC?
I'm sorry, don't ask me what
Are
AFSC
we giving
stands
us
for.
all these acronyms?
It's like the MOS for you Army people who are on the call, but it's our job. So my second job, our AFSC, after I was an administrative assistant for 3 company commanders.
Oh,
So
wow.
they wanted to use me for the air traffic controller, the company commander there, which we were in a company at that time. But then they also took me to the medical group, in which I was both the administrative assistant for the physical therapy, as well as they told the commander that how good of a job I was doing. So I have so much vast experience from learning from commanders. That was really important to me. And then this was while I was waiting to cross train. And then I went into cardiopulmonary laboratory technician, which
What?
is just it's just the respiratory therapist, the people who do an echo on your heart. When you hear Code Blue on TV, that was me running down the stairs with a ventilator to put the intubate the patient and to bring them back to life. So another story. Why do you think that bringing math and science is important? My students used to always ask, when you have a patient that's laying there on the gurney, you have to calculate their lung capacity, their mass. You have to do all of those calculations in your head in order to put them on a ventilator. If I would have miscalculated, I could have popped someone's lungs. I could have hurt them. So I tell them STEM is very important if you know the reasons why. And so that's a little bit about my background. And of course, education just became easy for me because I knew that I love to teach people. I love to help people. And when I left the military, that just became a natural next step. And then becoming an educator really transformed my life because high school was tough for me because the students were close to my age. And I felt like they wanted to be my peers more than be my student. But when I got to the middle school level, that was when I knew like they're ready. And so that was really my niche, just working with the middle school students. And that was how I started Pink STEM, which went into government contracting, which I can share.
Whoo, Lord, that was a lot to unpack. Like, Tamika, you are a freaking, like, I know I said powerhouse, but like you really, really doing some just your education and your knowledge, like all that stuff. Like you said, you may have done one trip somewhere. Like I remember we went on a ship. I don't even know why we were on this ship, but it was like a Navy ship when I was in high school. And I was like, I will never join the military. Like I was like, y'all are stupid. And they showed us where they make the MREs. And I just remember, like, and then fast forward, I was gonna bid on an MRE contract, whatever. So it was like though that little, adventure was, came back full circle. So that is really super awesome that and then you found your niche, like you said, being able to, say, okay, well, the high school students, I don't know, I might have to bop somebody in the head because we like 4 years apart. But then you're saying like the middle school, they're still kind of babies, but then they're still trying to learn. Some of them, if you can grab them back. So that's a great point. I'm just gonna a few people that have checked in before we move on to the next thing because I got questions myself. I got more questions than the questions that we have because this is amazing. So we got Healing Sounds and Tunes checking in from Kansas City.
Hey,
Sharon says,
I was just in Kansas and Wichita. Hey, I know. I'm telling you, building better regions with the EDA federal. I'm telling you.
Who's EDA?
Okay, you keep asking me these acronyms
I
that
don't
you know. We have to look it up because when I may know the acronym, but when it comes to telling you,
I got okay.
Charges
Look,
in my mind, not
we'll
my heart.
breeze by that. The
Yeah, we'll
EDA
breeze
in
by
Kansas.
that.
Okay.
It's a
Okay, no
federal
problem. No
agency.
problem.
Let's put it at that.
We'll skip
Economic
past that.
development, something like that.
Okay. Cool. So we got Sharon. Hey Sheena and Dr. Tamika checking in from Charleston.
Hey,
Okay.
Sharon, how are you from South Carolina?
And Vi Minetta in Griffin, Georgia. Okay.
Okay, Griffin.
J Mac. I'm guessing that's where is that? Cincinnati?
CLT.
I don't know what CLT is.
J Mac, tell us where that is.
What's that, J Mac? And then Vi Minetta said my granddaughter was selected to attend a STEM program at Emory University for a week this summer. Are there any scholarships to help with the cost for her to attend? That's what I'm talking about. Grandma said, look, we need help.
Well, you got the right
Tamika.
lady on the call. So let me tell you, I sit on about 4 or 5 boards on top of that, and we provide the scholarships. So let me tell you about scholarships. My daughter is a freshman in college as well. With scholarships, yes, the answer is there are scholarships to help her to attend. If you know that something is coming, you have to look and see when they become available. Like the scholarship boards that I sit on, that's for like the students who graduate 2025. If you know that she wants to attend something for next year, this will be the time for her to apply for those scholarships as they come up next year. And if you follow me on LinkedIn, I'll drop it in the chat. As the open registrations come for all the boards that I sit on, I'll post it. That way everyone can go ahead and jump on it. But yes, there are scholarships. There's also grants. When I talk about grant money, I do federal grant writing. I do local, state, county. The best way you can get grants for your business, I'll say it again, you can get grants for your business. The way that I got started was I looked at my local federal credit unions. I looked at my local banks, and I went in, and it's not just about going online. It's about getting to know them. So whichever bank that you bank with, I started there. I let them just, hey, every time I come in, I would just, I'm a little old school. I cash my check. So if I go in and cash a check, the people start to know me versus doing it virtually. And then one day I was there cashing a check, and I told the girl, hey, I'm interested in getting grants for my for-profit business, my government contracting business. Do you know who I need to talk to? And she gave me the contact. I put it in. It was a 10, 15 minute, I think it was like 10 minutes for me to fill out the application, and I got $2,500. I was like, for 10 minutes? For $2,500, that's the money to pay for your annual fees, for your LLC, for your Secretary of State, all of that. So
that's everything.
Yes, that's gas. That is free money. And sometimes they do ask for reporting. So they may ask you to report or even just show pictures. That's easy. So I do like to tell everyone that, yes, just to go back. I know I went around the circling back.
No,
but
that's great. That's a key right there.
There are scholarships. I would say that's more so of a grant that you're looking for when you're asking for her to attend. So when I was in high school, the way that my parents received grants for me to go to conferences like that, there's your local there's local American Legions. They give grants. And so my parents connected with the local American Legion. They told them what I was doing. So you would just tell them, hey, my child is doing a STEM program at Emory. Do you all have any donations? And they paid for my entire trip. I did the program at Georgia Southern University. So they flew me from Augusta, where I was living, to Georgia Southern. So there are opportunities, yes.
Wow. So there was a lot to unpack there too. So she said she's in the 5th grade. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So dialing that back. Dialing that back. Yeah. So shout out, thank you so much for that, because that's a little bit different than the video I did with Victoria, who has securing degrees, securing grants. And we did a full 2-hour video with her about grants and scholarships. But what you're saying, like, I know you old school, going into the bank and be like, hey, what y'all got? Basically, and just just asking the question. So that's a really good, easy tip that people do anyway. Like, I am very much so digital, very much so virtual, but sometimes I do have to go into the bank, and that's something that I'm going to do personally. So I greatly appreciate it. So
absolutely, it's just about, and my motto is, if someone is telling you no, they're not the right person to talk to. And I got that from Kris Jenner, but I thought that was phenomenal, because if someone is telling me no, that means that either they don't know the answer or they're not the right person to talk to. So I've learned that, and I've honed in on that, to just continue to ask around. Don't get discouraged. Just find out who your yes person is. And it may be a different type of yes, but that doesn't mean to give up.
It might be a yes, but.
Yes, but, right, with a caveat.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
But
don't give me no. You know I am. I'm a rebel. So I'll be like, who? What? No, you can't tell me no. You're not doing that.
I'm opposite, Sheena. I'm like, I'm kind of quiet and been in the background when it comes to things like that. But I'll go and research, and then I'll come back to maybe another person, or maybe I'll ask that person a different way. And sometimes that's what makes it happen. Or a different time.
No, I love that. That's great advice. Everyone needs to take heed to that, because sometimes people bid on it one contract, lose, and that's the end of it.
It's so discouraging. It's so discouraging. And I know you asked me the question about how I got started in government contracting. So when I wanted to do Pink STEM, after graduating and after getting my degrees and I had my research, I started the nonprofit 501c3. And then I knew that some of my students were graduating college, because I had a lot of college interns. And then some of my high school students, middle school students, started to go through high school and graduate, and they weren't being placed in STEM jobs. They would graduate with like a chemistry degree, and they would become maybe a teacher, or they would work at another job, but it's not in the field of where they wanted. So I spoke to, it was just at a meeting, because I would always go to networking meetings, and I spoke to a lady there, and I told her that I wanted to teach aviation, because this was back in 2013. There weren't a lot of programs for Black women in aviation. And I said, I can help them learn the basics of air. I have degrees in airway science, so I'll use my degree and I'll teach them how to read, how to learn about the runway, airspace. And I took that knowledge, and she said, here's the paperwork. It's going to be a government contract. Sign here. Here's your W-9. And I was like, what? Wait a minute.
Who? Oh, what? I love that.
Like, what? But I had a nonprofit. So I had to go ahead and get my LLC. I had to consult with someone, because I did not want to do it incorrectly. And so I paid a company to do all my paperwork for me, so I can make sure that I was in compliance. They took care of everything. I bid I didn't even have to bid. It was just unsolicited. I put my information in the system, and that was how I got started. Fulton County. Shout out. Thank you.
Shout out to Fulton County. That was my first one too.
Yeah, me. And when the checks come on time, that's when you get okay, I can do this. And
I love that. I did not know that. This is all new information to me, y'all.
Oh, Sheena, because we don't get to talk about this.
You be playing around. Tamika be like, yeah, I'm going to Africa tomorrow, but what y'all doing? Y'all going to lunch? I'm like, what?
If I can tell everyone on this call, last year I went to Morocco, and this was with the group at the airport. And we all went on the best trip. And I didn't look at the itinerary because I just didn't have time. And when I saw we were going to Africa, I wrapped up. I had you couldn't have told me that I didn't have the same experience of what I had these past couple weeks. And these past couple weeks, it's a group we're all minority nonprofits, and we go over to Ghana to teach. And there's already been a group that's been doing it for 5 years. And we teach STEM. We teach American basketball, flag football, and soccer, which is what they call football. And we did a full 2 weeks worth of camps for the students there. And we worked with a private school, and we have a nonprofit that's there on the ground that we worked with. And shout out to the lady Brittany, who started it 5 years ago from California. She was in a WNBA, and she travels from Oakland, and she started and laid the ground. And then with Jeff, he invited me, Marlon, they invited me, and I was a part of it. Wow. When I tell you, the experience in Ghana has transformed me. So we made connections with the university while we were there. We met with the president of the university. We met with the provost, and we are flying students that are going to be coming abroad all the way back to America to learn from Ghana. And then we've already connected with the president here in the university here in Georgia, and they have a study abroad program they're going to take, so students can go over there to that school as well. So it's just about the room you're in, Sheena, the networking.
That's different. No, you different, Tamika. You different. Don't play with us.
No.
Don't play with us. Don't play with us, Tamika. You different, okay? That
No
everything
different.
you just said is like my head is spinning. I don't even know how to. Okay, so let me go. Let me go through some of these
Okay.
comments, and then we're gonna come back around because we got
All right.
time. It's just like this is amazing. Like
I'm sorry, Sheena.
it's amazing because I'm like, dang, I've been, I gotta tap in with you myself. I'm feeling
Let's do
away.
it.
I'm feeling
Let's do
away.
it. You know we stay tapped in, so we're
You
good.
stay tapped in. I know. Tap in more. I need to tap in more.
That's
So
good.
the Crowley said, finally on time, love from California.
Hello,
Hey,
California, Cali in the house. I was stationed out there in at Travis Air Force Base. So I
where's
love
that?
Cali. That's in Fairfield, which is I'd say about an hour from Oakland, San Francisco.
I got you.
Beautiful area. Yeah. Yeah. I was stationed
Okay.
out there. That's where my daughter was born.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
All
Yep.
right. Well, California IA.
Yes, right.
Devonna says she is amazing.
Oh, thank
And
you.
she's checking in
Okay,
from
from
Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Checking in from Atlanta. And then we got Claudia from New Jersey.
Hey,
Um,
Claudia.
oh, and CLT. I thought I knew it is Charlotte. When we
Charlotte,
said
CLT.
CLT, that's the
Oh,
airport.
okay. So we visited, I think it's North Charlotte. That's over there. Beautiful area.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Charlotte's nice. They said it was gonna be the next Atlanta, but nah. It ain't. It ain't. Sorry. No. So BB Life said, do you guys offer a course on getting a government contract? And I already have my SAM, but I'm kind of stuck. Yes, I talk about that 1,000 times on my channel. I do have a course. Just go to Sheenapreneur.com. But that's not really the purpose of this particular video. But yes, if you look at some of my other videos, you'll see that I talk about that a lot.
And if I can say something to that, BB
Yeah.
Life, the way to get started is to go onto Sheena's videos and watch them for free. Watch them first.
Free first.
Because a lot of people want to go into, I have consultants, I have this, but at least watch all of the free videos. And then once you have an idea of what your niche is and which direction you want to go, then you sign up for her course. And by that time, you'll be contract ready. But if not, you can reach out to us and we'll support you to make sure that you are.
Yes, for sure. And thank you. Like, that's true. I'm all about free first. Y'all know that. If you win a contract by watching my videos or anything, I want to hear about it. I'm all about it. I had $1 in a dream when I first started, and I started by watching videos. Everybody knows that follows me. Shout out to Ivan, aka Nightway. He said he was gonna show up today. He's all the way from I'm rhyming today. He's from the UK. Well, he lives in the UK.
Okay.
And he always hops on. So thank you. Always a supporter of the channel. Yeah, we already said about the 5th grader. So this is it Antoni Jose here today on the road in Oregon, originally from Puerto Rico, currently live in Florida. Looking for geez, you all over the map.
That's all right. Hey,
must be a truck driver.
He's living in Florida.
Yes, BB Life. I'm currently in Michigan, but I have a second residence in Hawkinsville.
Okay, Hawkinsville. I was born in Dodge County, so I know you know where that's small town, but that's where my roots are. So
Yeah, never heard of it.
I see you.
Never
I know Sheena. That I won't even tell you.
But it's funny because I used to go to like a lot of site visits when I first got started. I didn't care where it was, and I would end up in these small towns, and I'm like, one of these things is not like the other. So I've seen a few.
Yes.
So it's not like I ain't never been outside the perimeter. But
let's talk about that too. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sheena.
You said what about that?
No, I said I wanted to talk about that when you said site visits. So
yes, we're gonna get into that. We ain't getting to it yet. Wait a minute. We got time, girl.
Yes,
we got time. I'm gonna write that down too. Site visits. So BB Life says, wow, this is so encouraging. Curly said, okay, Morocco is the best, so you must have been out there.
Yes.
And then Devonna said, did you get your SBA certifications first?
No. I did not. No. And do you want me to go into that, Sheena?
We're gonna come back to that.
All right.
You can come back to that because there's a lot of comments here and I want to get through them so nobody leaves. So Ivan said, my Lord, you bring the most amazing people on these lives. And Tamika is over here playing. She playing with us, okay? She playing with us.
You have people from the UK, Sheena? I see you. I see you.
I love it. Oakland here, I played with SWB, who is a lady.
Her name is Brittany Moore for Access Your Game. That's the lady who is she's a basketball coach out there in Oakland. I don't know the name of the school. Wow.
That's cool. All right. Wow, that's small. You know, it's always a small world. J Max said that's amazing what y'all did in Ghana. Nice. I
Yeah.
love to give back. And we
Thank you.
have Bridget B. Hello from Overland Park, Kansas. Okay, we just talked
Okay,
about Kansas.
Kansas. That's the air capital of the world. Let me tell you, Sheena. So
I don't
just
like
being
Kansas.
listen, so being a part of like government contracting and being a part of the nonprofit sector, I'm exposed to so much from so many different sides.
Yeah.
And I was invited on a federal grant, but it was with the EDA, and we went to Wichita, Kansas, and we explored where they make aircraft for the entire military across the U.S. We had to sign on, of course, we had to sign our quiet non-disclosure, but what I
Wow.
can say is they are 3D printing parts for the airplanes. And that is the career. When I'm telling you, people want to know what kind of careers to go into, you can be 17 looking for a career, you can be 35, you can be 75. The careers to go into are STEM. And the reason why I say that is 3D printing, which they call it additive manufacturing. So if you go to your local technical school, they are creating 2-year, 6-week, 1-year certifications. The reason why I know is because I sit on those boards for those technical schools and those universities. So when I sit on the board, we discuss where is the economic development? What is the world changing towards? Everything is changing towards AI. Everything is changing towards technology. So if you have a degree in, let's say, like today, my board, I went to a biotechnology board at the technical college. So if you have a degree in biology, now you must have, or not necessity, but it is important to have a certificate in technology, because it's not just about biology and science anymore. It's
Right.
about the technology that's going to take it to the next level. So if you want to just kind of freshen up, or if you want to switch careers, it
Mm.
is definitely important to look into what programs. And these programs, we are constantly adding. Like last week, I went to a meeting with one of the universities, just had a lunch with her, and I mentioned to her where things were going. She said, oh, well, we'll go ahead and create that new certification. I mean, like on the spot, they are creating technology certifications as you speak. So stay on the forefront of where things are trending.
No, that's really good. And I know Ivan, I think he was just talking about getting going back to school for something related to IT, because he was already in the military. You
Right.
guys know I did 20 years in IT, and I always tell people it's very hard to get, like you said, like young people, women into IT, for example. Maybe the other stuff it might maybe a little easier, maybe not, but IT in particular. And so I tell them the certifications will sometimes beat out the degree. So if you
Yeah.
want to if you want to get into IT, you need to start, figuring out which job, what their requirements are, because there was one example of a guy that I was in the Army with. He was a CW3, CW3, CW4. And he was in IT the whole time. They had just added the cybersecurity school to the warrant officer school. So he was like double warrant officer
Right.
certified, if you will. It's not a thing, but then he had a doctorate, and he moved to DC, was doing all the things in order to, go into making high six figures, and he didn't have his CISSP certification. So
Yeah.
all
That's
that, he had over 20 years in the Army,
yep.
had all this stuff, but he didn't have that one certification and couldn't find a job. So it's like those certifications will sometimes trump the actual education, if you will.
Education, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I run into that with some of my clients who go after cybersecurity contracts. Shout out to those clients. Thank you for trusting me. But I help them go after those cybersecurity contracts, making sure that they're CMMC required, at least
Yeah.
level 1, because that's going to be a requirement in the next year or so.
Yes, it is.
The government has been giving us about 3 to 5 years of
They've been like, all right now.
yeah, but it's like, okay, if you are not in compliance, you cannot win this government contract. So go ahead and start on that now if you know that's your field. And my dad, he graduated from Morris Brown in Atlanta, Georgia, and he has done IT for the last 30, 35, maybe 40 years.
Wow.
And that has also trumped him when it comes to looking for like remote positions, or if he wants something added, those new certifications. He's like, I'm not going to school. I was in IT before IT was even called IT. And I'm like, Dad,
Feel him though.
they're not the same. The computers are not the same. So so I understand. Yeah, I do understand.
So Ivan, yeah, he said he had a cybersecurity degree, but wanted to look into AI certs. That's what it was. Yes.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I messed that all up. My bad.
Absolutely.
So we got Bridget here. Bridget B, this is very encouraging. I'm listening to this and reviewing local bids. Sheena, you're amazing and blessing. Thank you both for your time. Yes, you are very welcome.
Can I speak to what Ivan just said?
Okay, yes.
So for the AI certs that you're looking for, your technical college is the best way to go. Wherever you live, that's the closest to you, because a lot of them are still in person. So one of the boards that I sit on for robotics and AI at the technical college here, I'm in Warner Robins, Georgia. And so they are creating more AI, but they're also looking for instructors because this is new. And so I was just on a grant that was a $65 million federal grant to bring AI, just to bring knowledge to the people. And when I tell you that is where it's going, that's where it's trending. And the best approach is to get a certificate from one of those technical schools that are close, add that and add that to your resume. And if you want to do that, because even when you go at the federal contracts, they're going to ask what's your past performance, and they're looking for 3 to 5 years worth of past performance. So you can't use something that you did 10 years ago. You have to stay current. So it's really good, yes, for Ivan to go ahead and get started in that.
Yeah, I know he's in UK, but I know he's like super eager and ready to, we all ready to win, right? So, and I want to circle back to your first one that you mentioned after I get through a couple more of these comments. So we have Success at its best, sending love from North Carolina. Are there ever networking events in my area or Bay Area, Cali? Yes, just literally Google. That's quick answer. Google government contracting event in whatever city, business event in whatever city, and you'll find what you need, or you can go on Eventbrite. So that's something we can't predict all the thousands of events that are happening throughout the country, but that's an easy way to do it. And so Ivan
on Sam, Sheena, they also put those networking events on Sam.
Industry Days.
The Industry Day, yes. So if you just look up on Sam, the Industry Day for, like I said, the Bay Area Travis Air Force Base is an hour away. So what Industry Day do they have for Travis Air Force Base if you're looking to go into federal versus local or county?
And you can even Google that too, like Federal Industry Day for whatever, CDC. And since COVID, they do have some hybrid where it's like in person and virtual. So, keep that in mind. So boom. All right, let's circle back, way back. Okay. To, I like how you presented how you got your first contract, because there were a couple of people that I interviewed on here who were like, I didn't even realize that was a contract. Like I just, they told me, hey, sign this, and it's like, oh snap, this is actually a government contract, and I didn't even realize what it was. So that was with you said Fulton County, right? So you showed up telling them what you do essentially, or they found you however you got presented, you showed up, they said sign this, and now you have official past performance and you have an official contract.
Yes.
Can you share how much that was in the time and how long it was?
So, oh my gosh, that's been so long ago.
I got so much money now. I don't even be knowing.
I don't remember the dollar amount because that's been a while ago. But I do know that I held it for a couple years, and then they changed contracting officers. So that's also a thing when people are transient in that field. So you have to go ahead and establish a relationship with the next contracting officer. And so I had more so of a relationship with the first one. And I just taught, the one I did was for aviation classes. So there's county and local contracts for just teaching classes, for putting on workshops. If you have your event planning business, there's a contract for absolutely everything.
Absolutely everything. So Devonna said, for your first contract, did you have 3 to 5 years past performance? She said she taught everything in the world.
Well, and then they didn't ask for it because, to be honest with you, They knew me by volunteering. I volunteer a lot. I'm in the community. They see me. They see my work. And when people know you, or when people share about who you are, you don't have to necessarily always have to tell them about your past performance, because they've already heard about you. However, like Sheena has her list, her Rolodex of past performance, you have to keep that on standby, because if someone says, I need it in writing, your past performance, you should be able to just say 1, 2, 3. Which years do you need? Which parts of which NAICS codes do you want? Like, you should be able to have that ready. So knowing, you being well versed about your field, knowing all your NAICS codes, your NGIP codes for those, what is that, state, local, for your PSC codes, knowing those codes and being able to rattle them off, knowing what your expertise is, you are the expert in that field.
And remember that too, like that you're the expert. So sometimes it might be, there's an opportunity that's presented one way, but then you're like, no, I'm the expert. I teach this. So it needs to really be this other way. And you can make those suggestions sometimes too to the agencies, because they don't know. They working for the federal government or the local government. They don't know about scrubbing toilets necessarily, stuff like that. So it's important to express whatever you are as a human, whatever your past performance is. So Tamika was already invited into the room before she was even in the room. So it doesn't matter if she had a company or not. Her as the human has experience. So I've had people tell me that, agencies like SCORE, shout out to SCORE because they're not all bad, or the PTAC told them, oh no, you can't use this. It's like, yes, you can. If you as a human have done it. I don't care if it was at a job. I don't care if you was working at Amazon or Walgreens.
That's past performance.
That's past performance. Like, ooh,
it kind of stresses me out when people say, I don't have past performance. And I'm like, okay, so what have you been doing your entire life? And that's important. I'm glad that you say that, Sheena, because shout out to Sheena, who introduced me to ChatGPT. Listen, when I tell you I am so old school, like Sheena and I were at a meeting and she was like, Tamika, just put it in ChatGPT. I was like, oh, what? And then her and our other friend Bridget from Design Show, shout out to Bridget, they said, pull up ChatGPT right now. That is your friend. That is your employee. That is your partner. Put it in. It doesn't have to make sense. Ask it to make a prompt for you. That is why we have to use our AI tools. And I was afraid of it the first, I think, 6 months. Sheena was like, Tamika, have you been using ChatGPT? And I was like, no. And they got onto me like right there. They was like, pull it up again. Like, that's why I love Sheena and Bridget. They stay on top of me. And so I pulled it up. And so, like, just keep it as an open tab. It's at the cusp of, it's right in your fingertips. So there's no reason why you should not be using that.
Yeah, and look, I started government contract when I started. I guess when Tamika started too, it was all up here. Okay, we didn't even really know how to find previous contracts and all that kind of stuff. This is all on the job training, OJT. And y'all got ChatGPT. I don't want to hear nothing about how to bid. Y'all, I be ready to put my hands around somebody's neck.
I went to PTAC. Oh my gosh, Sheena. Okay, so how I got started, when we go back to me taking my nonprofit, knowing that I couldn't bid on certain things without having a for-profit, because I wanted my students who graduate to be able to have government employment. And so when I started, I actually went to PTAC. Shout out to the one in Atlanta and the one in Warner Robins down near Robins Air Force Base. I made a schedule. And I would go to every single PTAC meeting and learn everything I could. And I was confused, even after going to the meetings. It's the federal government is just a totally different language. It's completely different. And so when you first start off, it can be stressful because it's nothing like corporate. It's nothing like local. It's different. So I had to learn, take notes, continue to learn. And as I'm doing that, I'm networking. I'm speaking to people, and I consider myself, I'm actually like an introvert. People don't believe that, but I really work on, I know, Sheena, listen, I can sit in a room and just be in the background and not say anything, but I'm observing. But I've been really working on myself, because that's not the move and that's not the way to make it. So I work on myself to make sure that I'm talking to people. I'm letting them know about the things that I know, because I'm in so many different circles and groups that I just want to spread it to the masses. Like, from the mountaintops, these are the answers. This is how you do it. It's just about now is the time for all of us to make it. It's a big piece of pie. The only thing you need is a piece of it to be a millionaire. You don't need the whole pie.
Facts. And that's if you even want to make it to $1 million. Some people don't even want them problems,
because it comes with problems.
It comes with problems, right? So
Right.
no, that's really, really that's encouraging, and I appreciate you sharing, because there's a lot of things to take into consideration when you're going into this. And you just mentioned like doing all the things. You're like, I'm going to classes, and then while I'm going to classes, I'm networking, and then I'm working on myself, self-development, and introverts unite, and a lot of people don't believe I'm an introvert either. But yeah, so yeah, we come out, we step out, we pop out,
our comfort zone.
Pop out.
That's
but
right.
That's something that the introspective, where you have to realize how to work on yourself, and I think that's important as well. So you got to make sure that you're doing all the things. You can't just bid and then just be like, I don't want to talk to nobody, I don't want to see nobody, and then just
Right.
like, oh, it's not working, I don't know how to do this, I don't want to do it. That's not the way that this works. It may be one path, but before you get to that, you need to do all the paths.
Yeah,
so shout out to my wonderful accountant Janelle. I interviewed her a couple of months ago. One of my favorite people in the world. She said include the past performance in your capability statement. That is 1,000% true. And she is the first sponsor for this video. Sending us super sticker. Thank you so much. Shout out to Janelle. Amazing human.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate the super chat, because it's hard out here in the YouTube world. Okay, it's hard out here. So Ivan said, I just want 10 to 15K a month. See, and
you're looking at simplified acquisition. You're looking at something that you don't have. See, Sam doesn't, anything under 250,000 is not on Sam. So that's those relationships that excuse me. Am I wrong? Correct me.
Well, it's not wrong, but simplified acquisition is a separate process. Yes, but I've gotten contracts on Sam.
Okay.
For less than 250.
Okay, so let me correct. I got the expert right here. Sheena, tell me, Sheena. Okay, yes. So yes, you are looking for those that are lower $10,000 to $15,000 a month. Then there are.
I haven't got money. Like you. So he's like, I just need quick couple of bands a month. He got money, so he's like, I don't even want all them problems. I just want some gas money, and some spending money, a little bit of spending money. So for sure. For sure. Look, so, and okay, another one. That's what I'm talking about. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the super chat. I really, really, really appreciate y'all, for sure. So I want to go way back again when you mentioned, about physics, and how when you were doing physics, teaching physics, and it's like, okay, how does this matter? It's so funny, because that's how I feel about geometry. When I was in high school, taking all these dumbass classes. Look, I'm sorry, I am not, I'm a forever learner, but I really hated school. Everybody knows that, if they know me. But I use a lot of geometry, measuring for buildings and all the construction stuff that we do. I was like, where's my teacher at? Where's my teacher? So you like you said, and that's why I try, and it's not that easy to get kids to understand what they want to do at an early age, because that can help. And they may change it or whatever, but at least if you're like, you want to be a veterinarian, but then you might end up being just a medical doctor. You still kind of on that path, but you're not straying all the way left or all the way right. And if you do, it's fine, because it's, we're in a world where we can change and be nimble, but it is kind of good to know what direction you want to go into. So you're not, wasting time taking chemistry. I was like, what in the hell am I here for? What am I here for? This has nothing to do with anything I ever want to do in my life. What? Absolutely. I just won't mix damn bleach and ammonia. That's all I need to know. I don't die. That's all I need. You know what I'm saying? So those things are kind of like, important with that. So I want to get on, you talked about your first contract. Thank you so much. I want to even share, my gratitude again for helping my daughter. Because ever since my daughter was 2 years old, she was like, I want to be a veterinarian. She didn't even know how to say it for real. And she, as she got older, you had to be 16 to do a lot of veterinarian anything, whether it was shadowing, visiting. Before that, we used to go to the shelters and clean cat shit. And that was like, okay, we need to wait until you old enough to go do some real, go into a veterinarian clinic and do some stuff. So Tamika was so gracious to make that connection for my baby to go and be with in a veterinarian clinic for a day. And it was, I mean, hands down, like her most favorite experience. She talks about it all the time. They really let her get in there and do some stuff and taught her a lot of buzzwords that veterinarians use. So can you kind of explain what that is that you were able to do? Because I was just like, Tamika, I need help.
and so that's why I always tell everyone networking is key. And it actually, my husband, his friends, they have a TV show on National Geographic and Disney.
Right.
Yeah, it's called Critter Fixers. And my husband's friends with both of the doctors. And I just mentioned to him, I said, hey, I would like to start to bring some of my students. I was working with students at Clark Atlanta. Shout out to Clark Atlanta University. And I said, I want to bring some of my students from Atlanta down to Warner Robins so they can shadow you. And they created, this was back in 2012. This was years ago. Wow. They created it may have been one of the first, but I know they created a program for the girls to come down and they would shadow them as college students so they can know, is that the field that you want to go in? And so years later, my daughter said she wanted to be a veterinarian because she rode horses and she loved dogs. And I was like, okay, well, I'll connect you. I called my husband. I said, hey, can you reach out to Doc? He called Doc and he was like, just tell her to come in. So she interned there and she was like, Mom, Doc has me watching surgeries. I am being able to see what it's really like. And she said, I don't think this is the field for me. That is what I want to hear.
Yes.
You experienced it. You don't think it's for you.
Amen.
Then that lets you know to try something different. That's okay.
Yes.
And so that's how when Sheena told me about that her daughter was going to Tuskegee, that was the same school that the doctors there went to. And I said, you know what? I said, let me make that connection. I emailed and said, hey, can we go ahead? So by this time they have a whole system. They're on Disney. So, right. So you can't just show up like back in the day, 10, 12 years ago when we would just call and text and say, hey, can they come? And so they said, sure, reach out to our assistant and she'll schedule it. And when I heard that Sheena's daughter went, that's what it's all about. So it's just about that networking, those connections, knowing people and asking.
For sure. And you are a connector. Like Tamika know everybody. She's like, oh yeah, I know someone in the White House real quick that can. I'm like, what? I'm like, run that back.
We don't talk about those things. Some things we don't talk about, Sheena.
Yeah, there's something that we need to get over here. But she is here. She's here for it. You guys. And I want to do an interlude to. I know she ain't a social media person like that. Okay,
no,
so I want to put it in the middle and at the end. Like, what is the best way to reach out to you? Because they're gonna reach out.
The best way is to work with me. I'm gonna drop all my information in the chat where you can find me on social media. But Sheena and Bridget, who does a lot of my marketing, she's like, Tamika, I haven't seen you post all week. And I'm like, okay, hold on, let me send it to somebody to post it for me. I'm working on that, but I'm going to send it. I did put my number here. My number, I usually have it forwarded to my call center and they will redirect you. But that's my number to call, text. And when I'm at work, I see your information. I may send you to, let's schedule an appointment. My call center may do that. And that's just the best way that I support, because it only takes 15 minutes for us to engage, for me to know how I can support you, for me to even refer you. Like, if you know you want to go into government contracting, I'm going to say, have you taken Sheena's course? That's just hello, shout out to Sheenapreneur.
Yeah.
That's how it is. And that's the way we work. If I know that it's something where I can tell you the direction of where to go for free services, I'll redirect you to those free services, because I do understand. But when I know that you're at a level where you really need to invest in yourself, that's when I send you to like places like Sheena.
Look, listen, I always say this on all my videos. Don't call Tamika with no BS. Y'all hear me? Do not call and say, how do I get started in a government contract? No,
because they're gonna say Sheena told me on her YouTube channel to call you, and I'm gonna just refer you back to Sheena. And we know Sheena. Sheena's gonna be like, Tamika, don't do that.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah. But look, don't call her or text. She's a busy woman. You hear her? She doing everything. So please make sure that you're reaching out to her with viable questions and some, already have your research or whatever it is together. Now, she is a very helpful person. So I know I'm saying, look, Tamika, close your ears. Look, she's a very helpful person and she's going to still try to help you. But I'm saying to make sure that you are reaching out with viable questions and you're not wasting her time. You can find out about government contracting on Google and YouTube, my YouTube channel, other people's YouTube channel. Don't come to her and say, how do you get started? That's not what she's here for.
I'm just going to tell you the same thing. You're right. And that's the thing, Sheena. I'm just going to tell you the same thing I'm telling you now. Have you gone to Georgia PTAC to do, or they call it Apex now. So if you're not in Georgia, have you gone to your local Apex? And if you have not gone there, then, the conversation is real quick. Or have you used Operation Hope if you don't even have your own S Corp or if you don't have your LLC? I'm going to send you to Operation Hope. They're nationwide. So I'm going to send you to those free places, and that'll be a 2-minute conversation. But it's something that you can just send a text and I'll say, hey, go this place. And that's it. So you should be well on your way. I'm more in the niche of those $1, $2, $3 million plus that are looking to scale. And those companies are the ones where at that point, I can kind of see where the risks are, and I'm able to do like a risk mitigation and support with, you're looking to scale, this is where you are. And that's where my clients, that's where we kind of niche in with my team. We're niched in with that $1 to $2, maybe $3 million revenue companies that are just looking to scale. So yes.
And it's not free.
No,
no, don't say it with your chest. No,
I did a lot of volunteering work, and yes, at this capacity, my family likes to eat too. So yeah,
they know. I just want to make sure it's clear that she just gave you a couple of free resources. You got YouTube University, you got Google, you got even the SBA, Small Business Administration. So, but if you want SCORE, so if you want, a hand holding, process, you got to pay. You got to pay to play. Or just figure it out on your own. Either way.
Okay, Carol.
So shout out to Carol
Green. Look at you, Green. Okay, Miss Green. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate y'all. Y'all showing out. Why y'all not at work?
I think so I think people are moonlighting a little bit, but let me tell you why it's good. So the university here just created a socialpreneur degree, where those people who just want to work by themselves to create their companies, now they have a degree just for that. And so it's just like the world is really changing. They understand where we are. They understand with this new administration, we don't know which direction it's going to go, but I'm pretty sure that it's going to go towards government contracting even more. So that means get your ducks aligned, get everything in order. And even with like me as a nonprofit, the laws, my lawyers just sent me something last week saying, hey, now with the new administration, the laws are going to change with how you put in all your information. So they gave me the list of the new laws. So now I have to change some policies and I have to implement new systems in place. But that's just the way it is.
Whew. Right. I didn't even get into the nonprofit side yet. That's a whole nother. We're gonna have to do another video on that.
That's a beast, but that's my baby. Like, yeah,
you're doing so many great things, and that's a part of your personality. So I think it's also like personality based. Some people will say, "I'm gonna start a nonprofit so they can get these grants," but it has to be still some level of give back that you want to do. You know what I mean? Even though you get money too, but there has to be some level of give back. So Sharon Hammond says, Sheena, Dr. Tamika, have you worked with Trident Tech in Charleston, South Carolina? My son will be graduating high school next year and is now signed up to take a college credit course. I'm personally not.
Me either. However, sounds like maybe dual enrollment. Hey, Sharon. It sounds like dual enrollment, and it's important for I can say experience from my child who did dual enrollment. Just make sure that you get a copy of their transcripts, and when he goes to college, to make sure that his GPA was adequate GPA, and make sure that his new college has those transcripts as well.
Oh, I forget you were a whole teacher out here in the real world.
I love
a whole teacher.
Marty Marr loves the kids.
Somebody gotta love them. I had to stop going to my kids. I had to stop being a chauffeur because I was like, I'm gonna have somebody's kid in the headlock. I can't do it. Somebody got to do it, so I
I
can't do
love it.
So she said, yep, that's what he did, dual
Mhm.
enrollment, and thank you so much. So, our girl know what she's talking about,
Yeah,
okay?
and it's important to enroll. You have your children, encourage them to do dual enrollment because, like I say, they get to learn more in depth about that career if they like it or if they don't, as well
Before
as
pay for college.
and when you get to pay for college, when they send you that first bill, Sheena, and you're like, what? This isn't free? Like what? Financial aid doesn't pay for everything? No, it does not. So
Please don't raise my pressure.
I'm
Okay.
not talking about that check for books. Yeah, that's an additional check. But when they ask for those additional fees, that's when it really matters. Like, oh, okay, so college is for real, for real.
For real, for real. But no, that's a great point. I want to hinge on that a little bit too, because again, I wasn't the best student. So I live vicariously through my daughter. And so, with schools that allow them to do like the college prep classes and I don't know, I might not be using all the verbiage right, but like the AP classes where it turns into college credit, or they have a pathway at their school, please encourage them to do those things, because like she said, some of us are veterans, but everybody's not a veteran with 100% where our kids go to school for free. And it's not even 100% free. There's still some nuances depending on what state you're in. I went through that painstakingly, so I can talk to that at some point. But just knowing that you can save so much more when people are getting second jobs to pay for their kids' college.
Oh
which
yeah.
is crazy.
And
That's
let me
not
tell
fair.
you, veteran to veteran, I'm glad you said that, Sheena, because I was able to get that for my daughter for the 100% veteran, but also I did not know because her father, my ex-husband, he's also 100%, so she can use both Chapter 35s. So I told my daughter, you're going to school for something beyond undergrad. You're going to continue because do not let that money pass you by. That money may not last forever. I don't know how long it lasts, but that's something I did not know before she entered college, that if both parents are military meal to meal and they both have the child can use both.
Yes. Yep. I learned that too after the fact. Don't get my blood pressure. Please, because that's a whole different experience. So Ivan said, let's work. I'm reaching out faster than right now and sooner than immediately. I was like, what? Okay, got it.
That's right.
That's too funny. Cal Green, I am new here and ready to help and learn about government contracts. Yes, thank you. Janelle says, Dr. Tamika, you are awesome, extremely knowledgeable, and take care.
Thank you so much, Janelle. I appreciate you for joining. Heart to you. Thank you.
Definitely a heart.
Thank you for all that you've done for me.
Hey, yeah, she's an amazing human.
Thank you, Sheena, for referring her to me.
Oh, good. So, okay.
Yeah,
I love it.
Hello.
I love it. So going back to certs, someone asked earlier, did you have any certs when you started? Again, since it was kind of just like, oh, here's a contract. You, of course you didn't, but talk about like either the certs you have now. I know you kind of do stuff with certs, dare I say.
No, ma'am. I just don't have the time or bandwidth for even my team to do certifications for companies.
Understood.
But what I do share is I'm a networker. And so I've been able to move more by partnering. And that's why I say, because of my relationships, if you don't have that SDVOSB, if you have a partner that can support, then
what's
there's
SDVOSB?
A service disabled veteran owned. Okay, I knew that one.
I would have helped you out if you didn't know that one.
Yes, because a lot of people, when I talk to people, especially veterans, so I also teach just a quick sidetrack. I also teach the boots to business. It's called something else at the Vector Center. So I travel around with them to teach veterans who are transitioning into government contracting or owning their own businesses. And what I tell them is, get your company as a legal entity first, then start networking. When you have certifications, that doesn't mean that you necessarily know the ins and outs of your own company, because what you don't want is a bad CPARS. Don't ask me what CPARS stands for, but it's a bad report card, basically, with the federal government. So it's best to start off in a sub, or if it's like really your niche and really your field, then you start off as a prime. And the reason I said that was a lot of people that I talk to, they're like, oh, what's Tamika? I'm going for my 8A. And I'm like, how long have you been in business? If I
5 minutes.
hear
5 minutes.
and I'm like, you're going for what? Do you know how long you can have 8A? That's not a very long certification that you're eligible to have. And I'm like, do you know like what your business can do with the 8A? If you don't jump into that too soon and too early. And I try to give my best advice based on my clients because, hey, I'm a veteran. So at the end of the day, I'm always going to be good financially, but I love what I do. So I do this when I wake up every morning. It's not because I have to. This is my everyday job. I do this for fun. I don't clock in nowhere, but I work from 8:30 in the morning, sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning, but 8:30 in the morning is the time I usually clock in for myself.
Yeah.
And I get off at 5 o'clock. I spend the nights and weekends with my family. But sometimes you'll catch me in the middle of the night just sending emails, catching up because I love it. Yeah. So when you do something that you love, there's just no other words.
It doesn't feel like work. And that's another thing too, is like people think if they get into business, government contracting or any of it, that means that they get to chill. No,
No,
if you have a 9 to 5, when you get off work, you get to chill. Being a business owner ain't nothing
exactly.
chill. It
There's
ain't even,
nothing.
they ain't
When an
synonymous.
employee called you in the middle of the night because someone came in sick and they don't know who else to call in, you may be that person that has to go in. Sheena, you don't know nothing about that, Sheena, do you?
Boom, that just blew off my shoulders.
You may have to go put on your boots and your hazmat suit to go sweep and mop. Like it depends on what the contracts are, because at the end of the day, it falls on you as the owner, not your subs, you as the prime. So
Fact.
a
That's
lot
a
of people
great
don't
point.
realize that. They're like, oh, I have the perfect subs. I'm going to just be the middleman. Okay. Whoever the prime is on that contract, the government says it's you. It
And I've
is
been
you.
told that via email that they were like, I don't give a damn about your sub.
No,
You said,
you.
and I was like,
Yeah, your
what?
UEI is the one that we have in the system. So everything else is like null and void at this point.
That
Yep.
is so let's expound on that.
Let's do it,
So
Sheena.
y'all know that I don't like that word middleman, because and I realize why. I realize why, because somebody got mad at me and said, why don't you like the word? Everybody uses the word. The reason why I don't like the word is because it means too many things to too many people. So I asked a few people, what does middleman mean to you? A couple of people like, well, I don't really know, or they have different answers. And I'm like, the fact that there's different answers makes it a word that you should not be using, because
Right,
everything in the government is black and white.
right,
Like it's
right,
black and white. It is this or it's this. And
right,
so really, when you're talking about middleman and you're talking about subcontracting, that's all you, that's literally what it is.
right.
You are going to be the prime. This ain't wholesaling real estate. I used to wholesale real estate. Wholesale real estate, you ain't even gotta, ain't nobody gotta know who you are. You ain't gotta have a business, nothing, right? You just literally putting these two people together, you're in the middle, boom. When
Yeah.
it comes to government contracting, you are the prime. So how are you a middleman when you are the actual person whose name is on all these legal documents?
Yeah.
The only way that you can kind of get around that is if you are completing the proposal for somebody else and you're anonymous.
Right,
That to
right.
me is a middleman. Like you're putting the proposal together and charging a fee.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and then you're not really, I don't even know if that's considered a middleman.
That's
You just,
right. That's
yeah. And
you
that's why I
just
tell people, based on whatever the FAR says for that contract, the federal acquisition regulation, whatever that FAR says that you are held obligated, your obligations, that's what you have to do. That's what you are signing off, that what you do, what you say that your company does. And a lot
yes.
of people, if you don't know what that is, I'm going to send you back to your Apex Center. I'm going to send you back to Operation Hope. I'm going to send you back to Sheena's her courses or her free YouTube channel. You have to take this as a job. And let me talk about people who are in transition. Maybe you have a job right now and you're like, I'm ready to go into federal government contracting, but I don't have the money to just jump out there right now. So I have to keep working. I've been in that space twice, and I'm going to tell you how.
Yes, Lord.
So when I was in that place, I said, I was teaching and I said, you know what? You can't do both. So I knew it was time for me to transition. So I started to put my strategic plan together. That was first. When you put your strategic plan together, back when I was doing it, there was no chat GPT. Now drop it in chat. What is a strategic plan? 3 year, 5 year, whatever, drop it in chat. Boom, they give you a full lineup of what to do. Once you have that step by step, you start doing a check mark, check mark, check mark. As you're doing that, this is something where you're still able to work, but on your free time, because don't do it on company dime. I can't let y'all come live with me. So do it on your personal time, that you work on this strategic plan. This is for nonprofit, for profit, any business. Without a plan, I believe that you plan to fail. If you fail to plan, I said it right. If you fail to plan, you know what I mean.
Fail.
There you go,
Yes,
Sheena.
we got
And
you.
so that's why I thank you, Sheena. That's why I always tell everyone to make sure you have that strategic plan in place. And then that was what I did. I had to write it out because I didn't know. And I just Googled what a template looked like back then. And I started to every evening, every weekend, I just went down and started to put my nonprofit in order. And then when I got to the point a year or two later, when I started my for-profit, I did the same thing. So on my desk, every year, every quarter you have to update it, but every year you really have to dig deep. And I keep it on my desk. And so it's kind of like a reminder of, this is your business plan. I have 2 clipboards, one for my for-profit, one for my nonprofit, because you can't commingle funds. And so I look at it, I keep reminded of, this is my plan. This is my strategic plan. How do I stay organized? I started to set calendar reminders to help myself, because I know that when you have so much on your plate, you can be forgetful. So I had to set up a plan for myself to help me keep organized. And when it comes to certifications, when you ask about certifications, I just partner with people that have, what's needed if I want to go after something. But for the most part, a lot of my contracts have been unsolicited, where it's just me trying to keep up and trying to establish and scale a team fast enough to keep up with the demand of what comes at me. So it's just constantly between my clients and between the unsolicited, just me trying to stay ahead of the game, or stay afloat is the best way to say
right.
it.
Amen.
Stay afloat, because when people talk to you, they're like, oh, you did. It's like, you can be exactly where I am. There's no difference, except for I've been doing this a lot longer. So I've seen, probably more than someone who's starting off. But if you are still working in a job, so my first time I left the classroom and I said, I'm going to do this. I had my full strategic plan. I went out there and I was like, oh no, the money was not flowing in. I was like, oh no. And my husband started looking at me like,
ma'am.
yeah, you need to make some decisions. And I was like, okay, well, let me go back to work. So 3 years after me trying my best, I mean, I had an office. We paid for it. We had a business we had a downtown business. We had a Texas location. We had an Atlanta remote office. Like, I jumped out too soon.
You were showing out.
I was showing out. But I was humbled really quickly.
Yeah, I feel
really
you.
quickly.
Amen.
So I went back to work. I clocked back in. I ate some humble pie, and I didn't tell anybody at my job what I did on the outside. I kept it to myself, but I just kind of regrouped. And then the pandemic hit. And then that was when everybody was at home. Yeah. And then I saw all these government contracts that were just like boom, boom, boom. And I was like, it's time to dust it back off. And that was when I started. That was when I dusted it back off. And then they asked me, they were like, hey, you ready to sign your contract for the next year? And I don't think I think I told them, I was like, I don't think it's going to be another year for me. This is it. And
at your job? You talking about at your job?
Yeah, but they were asking me, they were like, hey, we need you to sign this contract by this date, because we have to sign our contract every year. And so I was going back and forth. And that's why it's important to talk to the people in your household, because owning your own business, going into government contract, and all that affects everybody around you. Yes, everybody. Lord. Your children, your significant other, your other family members. It affects everyone, because at the drop of a dime, you may have to leave home and go do something that is detriment to your business. So you have to, it's difficult. It's a difficult balance. And I don't have the answers, but I do know that that's important. And so when I jumped out this last time, took a leap of faith. Oh, I'm sorry, Sheena, you still there?
No, you're frozen. Move your mouse.
Okay, it's loading. I see it.
Okay.
And then look at the picture.
I can still hear you though.
Huh? It froze like my mouth is open. How embarrassing.
Let me see if I can just hold on, y'all. We're having a little technical difficulties. Because I can see you, I can hear you just fine. It's just your face is frozen. Are you still there?
I'm still here.
I don't want to remove you because let me see here. I'm trying to see if
Listen,
we're having
like,
technical difficulties, y'all.
yeah, now I need more Wi-Fi. Let me go. Okay, there we go. I think you
Okay.
just reset it and it's gonna come. Okay.
Okay, we got the background. Boom, she back.
Woo! Sheena does not play with that technology. Okay, IT background, but I love it. Okay.
Yes,
So
Lord.
going back
Okay.
to how I really knew this second time, I took that strategic plan, but I also incorporated my business strategic plan, and I actually met with like Chase Bank, and I
Mm.
took them my business strategic plan, and I said, "Hey, would you give me my business a loan based on where I am?" And they were like, "I think you need to work on this, this, and this." That's why those relationships are important,
Mm.
because them looking at what I thought I had, where everything was going economically, and where I wanted to go. I'm kind of like Ivan. I don't want the responsibility. When I hired my first employee, now I'm not talking about everyone talk about I'll just get W-9, 1099. Listen, when you hire your first W-2, it ate me up so bad, and I got audited that year. When I tell you, Sheena, I was audited by the federal government. Sheena, I didn't sleep. I know I didn't sleep because the stress of the accounting systems that you have to have in place. I was
Correct.
like, oh, maybe I need to scale back and get my life in order, because
Ooh.
I tried to jump out there and swim, and I didn't have my infrastructure. So my sweet spot now is just focusing on infrastructure, making sure that those companies who are at that $2-3 million, like, what's your infrastructure look like? What are your pain points?
First and freaking foremost, for
Yes,
any business, government contracting or not, even if you're selling tumblers on Etsy, like
yes,
you gotta have a structure. And that's why there'll be people that will start business or they'll win a few contracts and they never scale. They
they
stop,
never
they
scale.
halt because they're like, oh, wait a minute. I got to figure this other stuff out. Yeah, this is a
Yeah,
real business. You got to figure that other stuff out like sooner rather than later. That's a
yeah.
fact.
Yeah. And I forgot to say, but to be honest, like a few years ago, we were testing out one of your courses, Sheena,
Oh,
and
yeah.
just me being able to go to your course helped me even keep in the mind of my infrastructure that I needed to put in place, because your course was like boom, boom, boom. And I was like, okay, there's some things that I thought I knew, but you don't know until you know. And so,
Right.
like, even your course, just me taking that was able to put me in the mindset of, okay, this is what I need to change, and this is what I need to focus on, so I can get to the next level of what's good for me. It's not about other people. Don't compare yourself to other people. What is
Please
good for
don't.
you?
Please don't.
Yes. What is good
That
for you?
imposter, that imposter syndrome is huge for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Let me cover a few of these comments, and then we're gonna get back into your stuff. We're gonna have a 3 hour with you.
No.
Oh yeah, you staying on this call
You know,
until we done.
I told my husband to keep the kids away for a couple hours. They're
Yep.
homesick, and I was
Add
like, keep them
on
away.
and tell them to add 1 more hour because
One more hour.
we need to talk. So Sherry Cooper said, "Awesome ladies, I'm new to this, but true to this, looking to
Yeah.
get in all the way. Thank you both for being so real.
Go
You
for
are
it,
so
Sherry.
welcome."
Go for it.
And,
Whether it's a
and
for-profit, non-profit, live your life, live these dreams.
live the
Yes, say
dream.
less.
Simi says, "Say less. I'm never doing that." When we talked about the middleman, thank you
Oh, the
because
middleman.
y'all make
Yes.
my blood pressure go up when you say it. Ivan said, "Government contracting is for the discipline and those who will see things through. You also have to be proactive and seek out the information. You can do it if you just believe in yourself." That is so fact.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Ivan don't want to come on the channel, but he don't know he don't have a choice. So
Yeah, he's
he
he's
gonna
he's
be on here
asking me
soon.
what English tea I can send over. I want all the teas. I want the full experience.
Oh, show, okay.
Yes.
So also Sheena and Dr. Tamika, let me know what English tea I can send over to you both as gratitude token from me for this awesome information insight. Oh, I
Yeah.
like peppermint.
I just want a variety.
Variety's good.
Yes.
Variety's good. Jerry said good stuff.
Thank
And
you.
then 360 no scope, some humble pie. Great guess. Appreciate
Yeah.
y'all. Look, I did the same. I had a totally different business. It wasn't even humble pie. I ate, look, the elephant. What they say you're supposed to eat when you
An elephant, a bite at a time.
look. It was rough. Okay,
Yeah.
I was like, baby, please let me get my job back. I was like, ain't no shame. What I gotta do? Shine your shoes for you, boss. It was bad.
Let
It
me
was
clock
bad.
back in somewhere.
Anywhere.
Anywhere where it's a steady paycheck.
Look, it was rough. And so
Yes.
then this time, same thing. Like I was at a crossroads. Somebody told me, you'll know when it's time.
Yes.
And I was, I got to a point where I didn't even want to see my work laptop. That's when I knew. It was like, when I saw it, I got anxiety. I just was aggravated, and I knew it was time to go. But I also was making money. So you gotta know what your expenses are. Some of us be like this when it comes to the money. And that's when you gotta talk to Janelle.
Hello.
So you have to make sure that you're setting yourself up. And I'm gonna this quick side note. I teach at Texas A&M twice a year.
Woo, shout out to Sheena.
And I always talk about the funding piece. So most of the time a startup is not going to get funding from a bank, period. And it's even more it's less likely even if you're a person of color. Let's just be real. This is just what it is. This is how it is. And if you have a challenging credit score, then you got to be creative in your startup funds. So there's people that have their 401k, they have these other ways to pull money. I've met people that had $85,000 credit cards. I was like, where they get where they issue those out? Because I ain't never got the memo. But like, you use your own funds, and they say use other people's money. Other people's money may not be available. So if you believe in your dream, or you are able to use that as you're trying to transition out, do it, but make it make sense for you. So, unpopular.
I did it too. I invested in myself, and I utilized my own money because I don't want to be in debt, or I didn't want to be in debt. And a lot of people now, they say use CDFIs. They're a little less stringent, which are
they're the same stringent.
You still have to have the credit score. You still have there's options, but I just tell people don't rely on that information.
Don't rely, please. Don't go. You think you go to the SBA? I've had so many conversations. They're like,
have you got a 7A? Like, have you heard of that? Yeah, but
they got rid of that program, I think, just here
okay.
recently. Just recently, I believe. I looked it up, and I was like, oh wow. So one of the easier ones has been removed.
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely something that people need to remember and understand. So Nina Flores says, I'm currently a WOSB, SDVOSB. Would it be a good idea to also be MWOSB? That must be a local certification.
The minority, is that what that is? The M? So my question to Nina is, if you could just put in the chat, what are you doing with that VOSB, or what are you doing with the WOSB? Who is your target? Because if you don't have a target agency based on those certifications, then that may be a reason why you're not scaling or expanding the way you anticipated. So if you can just drop that in the chat for me so I can see that.
And look, the certification is the cherry on top of the whipped cream on the ice cream. It doesn't give you nothing. It is, and think about it like this. I also tell this when I teach. There's, if you're talking about 100% of contracts, right? 20% of all federal, well, just talking about federal, 20% of all federal contracts are for small business. So just for you being a small business, 20% just automatically set aside. There ain't no certification needed. 5% of all contracts are woman-owned. So there's still 95% out there, but they just increased the SDVOSB to 5%. So SDVOSB is 5% of all contracts.
It used to be 3%, right?
It used to be 3.
Yeah, it used to be 3.
Now it's 5. And so, and then they have the VOSB, which I think is 3% now or whatever. And then you have 8A, which is 8% of all contracts. So everybody gets so hinged on these certifications, spending years and years and years doing the paperwork, and never ever bid, never ever network, because they think they need a certification first. When there's really the most you can ever, out of any certification on the federal side, the most that's going to be set aside for you is 8% at the most.
At the most. Yeah. And I'm glad that you said that, because I think it was maybe 2016 when my engineering firm first bid on our first, we had SDVOSB, and we bid on a contract with the CDC. So this is why I say it was unsolicited. It was the CDC, but we talked to the contracting officer and they were like, well, we have an opportunity, but it's for 8A. And so
they love the 8A at the CDC.
yeah,
Honey.
that was back then. And so we were like, well, we're not close to that. So we had an 8A partner that we talked to, but we didn't have all our paperwork in order. So when it came down to pushing that middleman out, guess who got pushed out? We did. We lost $70,000 in an instant because we didn't have our paperwork in order. And my team, they were mad, they were upset, but I told them, I said, we have to make sure, we have to go to our lawyer. Nobody wanted to listen to me. I said, let's make sure all our teaming agreements, everything's in place. They're like, oh, we trust them. Okay. When it came down to it, I'm telling you, if what's that team you call the Brails? What do you always Bales that always you listen to Sheena. If you do not have your team in order to have everything, that's $70,000 hurt. Like me and the group, we didn't even talk to each other for about a year after that. Like we were just mad. Like,
a year.
It took us a year before we got over the fact that we just lost $70,000. That was on one FTE. And they were going to give us
federal, full-time employee.
Yes, that was on one FTE, and the price of how much they got off of that, the company got back $70,000 for that one FTE, and it might have been a 1-year base. So just to know that having everything in order, that's why I'd say take that when you take Sheena's course, print it up, print out. She has an outline. You still have your outline, right, Sheena, in your course?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you take that outline, print it up. And make sure you checklist, just make sure, because when it comes to the federal government, you don't want to be on their bad side. But I say from experience, because we didn't have all of our paperwork in order, then that was how, even with teaming agreements and partnerships, you have to have everything in order because they can leave you out just because they put on the RFP that you're going to be a partner. If you don't have your contracts and agreements in place, that doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't. No, it's ooh.
Yeah.
This is a real business, y'all.
It's a real business. You live in your business,
and the government's gonna let you know pretty much exactly what it takes to be a real business. So don't skip that stuff. And look, even if you can't afford to pay a damn person, you got chat, you got Claude AI, you got Google. Like there's no excuses anymore. I sometimes gotta remind myself that I've been doing this for a while. So I'm like, how are people still having questions about government contracting? But if you're not really, especially if you never had a business and that kind of thing, maybe all of it's foreign and confusing. Right. So I can, forgive me if I be sounding kind of brash to y'all, but it's like, listen, just use your resources free first. Right. And so going back to this question with the MWOSB, now, the WOSB and the SDVOSB, those are federal certifications.
Correct.
There's no such thing as an MWOSB, as far as I know. I know they were talking about a female SDVOSB at one point. Yeah, but I don't think there is an official one. So the MWOSB has to be a local certification.
Local or state,
maybe for your city or something like that. Because even the DBE, the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, is usually state level. It's not city or county level. So that MWOSB must be for a local city or county or something like that.
And that's why I say when people are just getting started, stay in your backyard first. I know I heard Sheena say that before.
And Bridget,
and Bridget, stay in your backyard. Go to those contracting officers at your city. Go to those municipalities. Go to the state on Georgia Teen Marketplace.
Yes.
Find those first. That way it can be a little bit more lenient on if you make a mistake, you can go in and talk to them versus when you go in, like I said, you don't want a bad CPARS, which is your report card with the federal government. You don't want to go in messing up and then they put a bad report card and other contracted officers see that before you even get there. So go ahead and get your feet wet right in your backyard.
Right in your backyard. And there's millions of dollars in your backyard. So don't let anybody tell you that there's not millions of dollars of contracts, locally. So another segue that we kind of touched on a little bit, but it was a part of one of the questions we had. And the question is really about you being, a Black female in STEM, but also about site visits. So I know with me, just real quick with me, of course, being in construction facilities, I'm usually the only woman or the only Black woman for sure. So they be looking at me, and I got long nails, and I'm like super black. You know, I got my locks. They hidden right now. I be having my locks, and people are like, "What the hell is she doing here?" So how do you? What are your experiences with that?
So a couple weeks ago, and I'm so glad you asked this question. A couple weeks ago, I saw a site visit coming up for construction. That was a local construction project. They're redoing an entire park. So there's so many opportunities there. And so I went. First of all, I wore my heels, which I know better. So wearing high heels on a site visit,
Girl, what were you thinking?
I wasn't, because I usually wear my boots, but that day I was just already, I had another meeting. And so I think I had a board meeting. So I was like, I'm going to dress for the board meeting when I should have been dressing for that site visit. Because
Right.
after the 2-mile walk, at first I was the only Black person there. And then one other guy came towards the end. And then I was definitely the only female besides the contracting officer. She was female.
Wow.
And there was about maybe 30 companies represented. It was a huge amount of, and it was construction. And it was just like, there's so many things, from like signage. They need someone to do the new signage. Those are different contracts. And so I was trying to just pull what contracts I can support my clients with, because I like to go there and I like to network and talk. And one of the guys who owned his own construction company, you know, they want to know who I am and what I do. So I just kind of talked to him about who I was. He's like, oh, okay, well, I can reach out to you. Boom, here's my business card. I don't even do business cards anymore, but I carry a QR code because it's quicker. And I'm like, here, scan this. But if you want a paper copy, here's a paper copy. And so I just talked to him, and they take the measurements, they do the pictures. Now, even Sheena has seen me go to some site visits, and like some people pull out these long do measurements and stuff.
Like, what are you?
Or like they have like rolling measuring tape. And I'm just looking at them like, I could take some pictures, and then I'll email the contracting officer, and I'll say, hey, can you send me those dimensions? Like, what are you bringing all these materials in for?
They want to look like they're doing something when they don't even need none of that.
So why?
So funny.
That's what the contracting officer, that's their job. They're going to send you those dimensions. So it's just like, you know, this was literally a couple weeks ago, to still be the only Black female in the room, that's disheartening. And so there are a lot of agencies, especially the Black chambers. They have really united across Georgia, here in Georgia, and they're spreading the word about these government contractings. They're spreading the word on how to get contract ready, because that's really where a lot of people, and I also work with like a team of people that we help businesses just get the information out. I post it on LinkedIn whenever we do webinars and things like that. But we just really like to, in our spare time, if that even exists, we do like to still help. If you are trying to get out there, just like my page when I do get a chance to post. Like my page, and then say, Tamika, I saw you on Sheena's YouTube. So yeah. But yeah,
that's how they're gonna reach out too. So we talked about mentorship earlier, and I'm gonna give my little spiel about mentorship, because it's always a struggle, depending on what I guess point in my business that I am. At the beginning, I'm like, mentors, you know, I want them all. And then you know, someone asked me a question when I was on a panel, and I said, you know, sometimes you can not do something because you're waiting on the perfect mentor. So, you know, using a mentor kind of like as a crutch. I don't have a mentor, so I'm not going to do ABC. And I think that that's, you know, not a good choice. And then I also had a mentor that I became a mentor for. So that change in dynamic was a little weird. And I'm like, I don't really like this. And then now I'm at a point where, you know, it's almost like finding a therapist, finding a mentor that is not trying to sun you, you know, like, I know you're above me in a way, because that's what you're usually going to use as a mentor. But I don't also want you to say, well, you know, when you do government contracting, you got to register in SAM. It's like, did I not just explain to you that I've been doing this shit for 10 years? Like,
I know that.
Oh, girl. So with that, you know, mentorship, I think, is important as long as you know exactly what you're looking for, and based on the time that you're looking. So please give your spiel.
So when it comes to mentorship, I'm a mentor to so many, as well as I had to find my mentors, and sometimes they don't even know that they're quote unquote my mentor. But it's like, when you get someone that's in the government contracting field, and they do this for real. Those multi-million-dollar client, they say, hey, Tamika, I'm gonna fly you out here with me to California on this contract. Hey, I'm gonna fly you to DC with me. So those are the kind of mentors that I kept looking till I finally found them. And then when they started flying me out with them so I can see and learn and rub elbows, that's when I was like, oh man, this is nothing but networking. That's all it is. It's just talking, networking. And like I told you, this introvert inside of me was trying to just be like, okay, I'll sit behind a vendor table. No. And then if you have a good mentor, your mentor will introduce you and your company. They will introduce you to people and say, but she has her own company. She's here with me, but she has her own company. And this is what she do. And then they'll say, Tamika, tell me about yourself. That's a true person that you know is really for you. Now, there are some people that will, I don't want you to get bigger than me. I don't want you to grow. So they won't hold the knowledge. That's not the person for you. You need to find a different mentor. You need to be around those people that when you go out, they say, hey, all of us can win. Because like we said earlier, the piece of the pie, as long as you have a small piece of the pie, you still in there. And that small piece of the pie can take you into the revenue that you desire. And so, like I say, my revenue, what I desire changes based on what I like to do. If I'm like, hey, I need to go ahead and increase what I'm working on, then I get more aggressive. But if I'm feeling like it's overwhelming for my family, I have small children. So I have a child in college and then I have little babies. The pandemic was rough for us. We started
little
all
babies, y'all.
So I have little children that were my pandemic babies. So I have to have that balance where I just can't all the time focus on my businesses. I have to scale back sometimes. And I'm able to do that based on if I get aggressive, I can make the revenue and be where I want to be. And then I can scale back and just chill, relax, enjoy life. So having a good mentor is important. Necessarily saying, hey, I want a mentor, asking for that. I've never asked like that. I just usually just like Sheena's a mentor and she don't even know it, but she is one of my mentors too. And so see that I'm serious. Like just like every time I'm around Sheena, I grow. You know, and it's
don't make a thug cry now. My man,
let me tell you, and you know, I wouldn't say it unless it's true. And it's just like being around people that know what they're talking about. You just grab onto it and you just hold on to it and add it back to your strategic plan. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to be. This is my Q1, Q2, Q3. Another thing before I go on, please understand federal versus local, state, and everything else. When it comes to quarters, make sure you understand which quarter you're really talking about. Know the differences. When you're talking to people and you're not well versed on the vernacular or the language, make sure that you do your research before you go, because as soon as you talk to a contracting officer and you say something completely off base, they're going to know that you're not experienced enough and they may shut you off. And speaking of contracting officers, I was at an event with the Black Chambers, and they had the contracting officers from the Air Force Base. And literally, when I told them what my name was and my company, before I left that event, I saw them on my LinkedIn page. They were all three contracting officers were looking me up. I could just see them looking. And that's why I say that it's important. I try my best to stay on social media, but how do you do the work and scale? I asked Sheena for help. I was like, Sheena, what do I do? And she was like, boom, boom, boom. You have to
do it.
Hiring. You got to start putting it in a place. And so like, those are the things that, you know, really helped me, just finding mentorships in certain, just what am I looking for, and me finding that person and just taking the advice and taking their knowledge and adding it to myself.
And I'll say, I don't think people even understood that key you just gave, because I just reflected back to so many moments where someone, like you said, it's not like you're an official mentor, right? Mm-hmm. But even if they're a mentor for that moment, for that one event, for that one time period, at one conference, and they're like, hey, this is Tamika and she does da 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 da. And then, you know, everyone's looking at you, and then you give your spiel. That is like, I don't think people understand how like key that is. Right. Because I don't really meet a lot of people who don't want to share information about government contracting because it's just too much money. Like it's more about like there's almost no enemies unless they're personal enemies, like for your personal life. Right. But it's just everything is about collaboration, and there's not a lot of industries like just regular industries where people can collaborate and everyone's getting money. We can, if we both do IT, then we're both going on a contract together. Like, what are we talking about? So
it's I'm so glad you. Sheena, you are in my brain. It's just like when we sit down, like when I sit down with my capture managers and we look at the forecast of what's out there. If you have to have, like, somebody has to have white label experience, or if someone has to have this certification, if you have a Rolodex, I just told my age when I said Rolodex, but if you have a list of people that's in your field that fall under that same NAICS code, you should be able to reach out to them. That's why I work more on networking and bringing people together and that consultation, because I'm good at it, and because I meet a lot of people in from the DOD side of things. Like, they ask me to come in and just, they want to talk and find out, hey, what can we do better from a DOD side of things? And I'm like, man, the government is asking me. So like, those are the types of rooms that I'm in. So I'm able to like just connect people based on, oh, okay, you want to go after this cybersecurity contract. Well, what's the contract? Let me connect you with this team or this person, because this is how it would work.
And ditto. Okay. And like you said, like sometimes you can go into a room and it is challenging for introverts, but you just got to be comfortable with what you do. And that's why another reason I say, and Bridget said this when I did her live, there's riches in the niches. So you should be able to explain exactly what you do. And so if you're explaining that enough, if you'll become more comfortable explaining what you do when you're in these places, even if someone's put you on the spot and say, okay, tell us what you do. Yeah. And then just everybody's just staring at you. It shouldn't be like, oh, I'm a middleman doing government contracting. There's no such thing. That's not a title. That's not a thing. That makes me very pissed off, because what's going to happen is they're going to change the regulations to say that you can't do these things, you can't do that thing, and then they're going to change the parameters for subcontracting, because people are just talking and don't really understand what they're doing, and they don't really have a business that is going in a specific direction. If you're registered on SAM, and even with some local agencies, you got to pick a NAICS code. So that's why I'm like, well, how are you saying you're general when there's specific NAICS codes that you have to choose in order to even register? What did you choose as your primary NAICS code?
Right.
Start there. You ain't AT&T. You can't just do all these different departments. You start with one thing, and there's so much money in that one thing, guaranteed.
Absolutely. And that's why when I first started, remember I started in STEM, and STEM was not even popular with the federal government. Like it had to start at training. So I started with training because that was what teaching kind of equated to.
Yeah.
And when I was looking at the training contracts, I was like, I don't have none of these necessary skills, and I didn't have the network at the time. So I was one of those people that went after whatever I could find. I was here, I was there, I was construction, I was low voltage, and when you're all over the place, I was, oh my gosh, we have seen we've seen and done it all. And when you are all over the place, you're nowhere at the same time.
Woo! Drop a mic for that, please. Somebody drop a mic. And it's so funny you say that, because I still need motivation sometimes. I need motivation sometimes too. And so I just was watching this a guy I used to watch a long time ago, and the video just popped up because I must have just said motivation, and boom, here he is on the algorithm, right? And he talked about how you're not able to, grow the way that you need to grow. And a lot of people would notice, and I don't want to sound like corny or redundant, but you're not able to grow when you're not hyper focused. So when you have you're going in 97 different directions, everything is going to have a piece of your brain. You only got one brain. And so you're focusing on all these things. Some of these things are not making money. Let's be honest.
Right.
And then the other thing is you can't focus. And most of us have families and other hobbies and other things that we like to do, but you got 20 businesses.
That's right.
And it's just you by yourself. Even if you got a small team, that does not work. I've done it. Okay. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 12. Done it all. It don't work like that. And once I got hyper focused, that's when the money reigneth upon me. Okay.
And you look disjointed. So like I have, we were in the military. So I have friends that are contracted officers. So we talk, and when we talk about those things, we talk about like, when you get a capability statement and it says they cut grass, they do real estate, but they also do IT, they do low voltage, they do mill work. And you're like, I don't know who they are. And it's just like a lot of brand new companies, because if you know someone that can do it, you're thinking that middleman approach that you always do it as well. But that's why we say focus on your niche, like get that down. Once
Get
you
that
get your
down.
niche down, and then when opportunities come your way, then yes, look at strategically expanding. But make sure you have yours in place. Make sure you know your career, be the expert in your field, whatever your background is. But I have seen people who are in the medical field, but they do transportation contracts. I've seen it, you
But
know,
stay with transportation
stay
contracts.
with
I was
transportation.
I was in
Right,
IT and now I scrub
right,
toilets. So
right.
yeah, I
That's what
get it.
I'm saying.
But
Stay in that field.
stay in that field. And that's, I mean, that's the best advice. We can just stop the car right now because that's really it. And I just, if
Yeah.
people understand that, you'll go so much further. Like if you're brand new to business or brand new to government contracting, why the hell y'all not listening to the people that have done it? We're giving you all our pain points. We open. We
We're
open.
transparent because
We're
it's just so much
transparent.
money out there, and I don't see competition. I see collaboration.
That's right.
And it's just like, the best way, like Sheena said earlier, calling and texting someone for like little bit of advice, that's not going to get you where you need to go. Sit down, research, and do the work
Do the
yourself.
work.
And
Yes.
then hire people under you that can wear those hats. If you know that your first hat is to put someone in that capture management position, develop those hats and then do your structure of how you want your team to look. Go that direction.
No, that's a great segue because I wanted to ask who was on your team, but first, there was a piece of advice I got years ago, and I didn't get it. I was like, I don't. This is stupid what you're telling me to do. But a friend that I met on Facebook, sometimes you have like the best friend that you never met on Facebook, and he told me to write out all the positions I needed in my company and
Yeah,
put my name under each one. And I'm like, this is the dumbest thing I
yeah,
have
but that's
ever
what we're
heard.
doing. That's what we're doing when we do have
But
hats.
you have to know who you need. So as you grow, because we're all planning to grow and scale, right? We're not just doing this as a side hustle for the summer. We're doing this so we can grow into whatever your desired, multi-thousand, multi-million, even billion-dollar company. So you need to know who you need because you're starting off solo dolo. Most of us
Yep.
do, unless you have a partner. And you create the structure of your organizational chart that has all the different people you're gonna need,
Yes.
and they may be different for different people. So then you put your name under all of those, and then as you're growing out, and it's satisfying too, right? Because it's like, oh my God, I just hired
I
my first,
remember.
and then you bloop, now you
Yeah.
got Jane Doe and your admin, and then capture manager and all the other things. So who is on your team right now? Who do you have as team members?
So because I have for-profit and nonprofit, I
Yeah.
have like different teams. And so like for my nonprofit, I have an actual staff of people, including my board, because your board is the one
Yeah.
that pretty much manages. So I have a foundation, which is the 501c3 side of things, and then I do the education consulting. When it comes to anything government contracting, I normally work in teams, but I still have one cybersecurity expert that he works up under me, and then we have about 3 software engineers, technical writers that work up under them. And so we have meetings where we meet just for IT. And then I have, if I want to go after any construction, low voltage, we have our teams that we just specifically go after with low voltage. But I also have large firms like Siemens who are already in my repertoire, and we've already partnered and signed all necessary paperwork that if we need a contract where we need a large, we have those firms that are on teams with us. So that's been beneficial to me. I don't have like 6 or 7 people that work for me W2. I've tried that, and it has been stressful because you have to manage people. And
Yes.
being able to manage people for me, you have to have a firm personality, and you can't take things personally. And I found myself taking things personally because it's people. And so I
And this
find,
is my baby, and y'all not acting like you love it. Okay, what is
yeah,
that show? Super, you're not super pumped. Okay,
no, and it's just like I found that it helped me to work with teams or companies versus me hiring all these employees that are up under me, and it's easier for me to manage. But that's
fair.
just what I like and how I operate.
No, that's fair. That's fair. And knowing your strength. I mean, for me, I do have a 5-person staff, including myself. And it took, a lot of different trial and error to see, how that would actually work for me. But, it's all about what you can do, what you're willing to do, what you want to do, and it's as you continue on, you may realize you don't need a certain type of person, or maybe the person that you have is just not good. So you thought you didn't need them, or you thought you did, or whatever, and you realize you just needed a different person.
That's
So
right.
real quick, let me go through a couple of these comments because Nina says still pretty new to this. Don't beat me up, but I haven't targeted any agencies. That's
Oh,
okay. And
we're
I
not
would say,
beating you up. Go ahead,
yeah,
Sheena.
we
I'll
ain't
talk.
gonna beat you up. We ain't gonna beat you up.
Mhm.
But I would say, in certain industries, you want to have your top 3, top 5, but there's certain industries where they all buy, like everybody buys janitorial services. So then I had to focus on, where did I want them to be. So, that was kind of how I was able to, I guess, target. Like I don't want to do something in Alaska because I can't get to Alaska quickly. So then
Right.
you go into targeted locations. So Sherry says you want to say something?
Oh yes, I was going to speak to Nina. So that's where it goes to your strategic plan. So because we're already in Q2, for your Q2 strategic plan, because I saw that you have SDVOSB and WOSB,
Mhm.
you need to look at those target companies, or excuse me, agencies that are selling, are purchasing. I'm sorry, I mixed that up. That are purchasing, and so go on USA Spending, see where the money is going, who's buying, and once you're able to see that, go into FPDS and look in their systems to see. So that's research. That's time that you have to spend. If you don't have that time, you have to hire. Sometimes your children may have to be that person. Hey, this is the homework after you finish your homework. This is what I need you to do, my lovely child. And so I'll pay you a stipend when I get it. If you're just starting off, you have to do what you have to do.
Gotta do
But
what you gotta do.
but I say, like, if you know SDVOSB, stay on top of those sources sought in those RFIs with getting your using that designator with the VA. The VA loves SDVOSB.
Yep.
So if you do your research based on those certs, that will help you streamline your strategic plan.
Yes, and I wanted to go back to when you mentioned mentors and how you're introduced when you go to certain places, and knowing what you're talking about because you've rehearsed this over. They talk about an elevator pitch, a 60-second pitch, all that stuff is cool. You're either gonna start off with a one sentence or you're gonna go into a conversation. So even when you get past the pitch, they're gonna ask you clarifying questions. Nobody understands what the hell facility management is. I don't know. I've racked my brain trying to figure out how to really say what it is. So I usually will say light construction, or I say facility management services such as janitorial, floor pit. Like then people are like, oh, but even besides the contracting officers, other companies are gonna call BS. They know, like when you go to these places, and it was in somebody's group. I can't remember. Someone sent it to me, a screenshot where someone was like, "What are you supposed to say when you go to a conference?" I'm telling them that I'm doing middleman government contracting.
Don't do that.
Woo!
Don't do
You
that.
want a fast way to
No.
down? That is a crazy statement. It doesn't make sense, respectfully, or maybe not respectfully. Sorry, not sorry. But understand that people that really do this, you can't BS them. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
don't care what you've done in the past. If you sell salt to a slug, they're going to know because they're going to say, what the hell is that?
Right.
And they're going to look at
Right.
you, and then you're going to never go back to another one and then never do government contracting because
Right.
you're not getting yourself prepared to be a real business. So go ahead,
Yeah.
because I feel like
So
I've been talking about.
no, Sheena, you're right. And so that's why I say that conversation is the key. And it's not necessarily an elevator pitch. So when I went to Apex, which was Georgia PTAC back then,
Mm-hmm.
they always told me, and see, I live in Warner Robins, which is about an hour and a half south of Atlanta. And so I had to drive up to Atlanta to go to those sessions. Or there's a couple that was in Warner Robins, but I really had to drive up to Atlanta the most. And they started off with create an elevator pitch, learn your NAICS codes, this, that, and the other. But when you're really in front of a contracting officer, talk to them. Hey, where you from? Hey, oh, I'm from here, such and such. What do you like to do? Like, not necessarily in those words, but get to know them. They are a person just like you. And people work with people that they like. Period.
No, like, and trust.
know, like, and trust.
That's it.
And that's why I say, even with that CDC contract, it was, we went after a contract, but after us speaking to the contracting officer, they said, well, we can't go on that one after we got our feedback. They said, but here's an unsolicited one that's coming out that you can bid on if you have an 8A. That's because of that relationship that we established. So
That's
when
right.
you have a relationship with someone, and when you can actually talk to them, and like, even with that contracting officer with the CDC, she's retired, but her and I still, like, we still meet, we still talk, and it's been years, 10 plus years since. So
Wow.
it's just like, now she's not in the federal government anymore, so now she's become like more so of like a friend slash mentor, where now I can just, and we don't even talk about government contracting, we talk about life, and so
Right.
it just
Still
but
human.
then, exactly, but then a conversation may come up where she's like, you went to did this, let me connect you with this person because I think they may be able to help you. That's where you get your money, right there. If you
You
go
never
in with
know.
the right, if you go in with the right heart, the right mind, and you already have your ducks in a row, like I like to say, then it's going to come to you.
That's right. You never know what a connection will be, and I'm all about income producing activities,
Yeah.
right? So sometimes you might be like, I ain't talking to them, I ain't got time, da, 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 but you just, smartly.
Yeah.
She's talking to a retired contracting officer. You don't think sis got some kind of sauce? Even if she gives you one connection a year or one
Okay.
connection every 4 years.
Which it does, and it happens, and it's just like
Yes.
you say, just a conversation over lunch turns into a contract,
That,
and it may not even be what, like, our intentions were. It just
right.
happens organically.
That's so important. Networking. And then someone told me that when I first started, can you give me any advice about government contracting? And he was like, network. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm an introvert. That don't work for me.
Yeah.
And so at the beginning, I fought it, boy. I fought it.
Yeah.
And luckily we went right into COVID. So I was like,
Yeah.
bet this is
Yeah.
my
You can
time.
be behind your
I'm
camera.
having the time of my life being in the house,
Yeah.
But eventually it's like, nah, you got to really get out here and start working and talking. Sherry says, I'm working on getting contract ready.
Yeah.
Also setting myself up for minority radar. I don't know what
Radar,
that is.
maybe radar for larger companies.
I
Oh,
don't
she
know.
wants to be okay. So if you want to be like I see you saying maybe minority radar. Chena, you want to say something?
No, I don't know what that is.
I'm thinking that's what that may be for larger companies. So what you're looking is to sub under companies. So if you're looking to be a sub, are you registered with those companies? Do they even know who you are?
Right.
Because, are you on subnet? Those are the types of things where if you say you want to be on someone's radar, how are you positioning yourself for that? So I think that's what she said. Can you expound on that? I think that's what that means. If it's not what you're talking about, just drop it in the chat so I can
Oh,
know.
yeah, she said yes, but I don't know what she's saying yes to. But I'll elaborate on that. So when it same thing when you are like I said about the contracting officers and people gonna call BS, it's even harder. The
Yeah.
government requires probably less than larger companies will when it comes to doing work with them. Now it can be done where you got a larger company and they are, the creme de la creme. And
Yeah.
then you have some that will treat you like, a redheaded stepchild. Now, and people always think about going to Boeing and John Deere and some of these huge companies. There's companies that make $20 million that are just better,
Yeah.
better as larger companies, and they're looking for subs.
Yeah.
So just you talking to people, networking, looking at who bid on a contract, and then reaching out to them if they won or something and saying congratulations, hey, I would love to help you. That's a lot. That's a part of your strategic plan as well. You got to do all the things. You just never know. I've gotten a few contracts like that where I was like, oh my god, like y'all like me. They saw the website that Bridget did. Shout out the design
Okay.
show.
Hello. She did all my websites.
All of them.
All of them.
And it's like they look at the capability statement also by design show and they're like, okay, you really do this for real. Yes, I really do. But it may not present that way at the very beginning. So you want to have your tentacles out completely to everything. So cool. Let's see what Sasha said. I love you both for transparent and so refreshing. You are so welcome. Sherry says, say that, lady. I not only want this, I truly want to know this at a teaching level. And Ivan says, Sheena is my mentor.
I know that's right. Mine too, Ivan.
I love y'all. I think she knows, but seriously, she is someone in this space I aspire to be like. I thank God for her offer. Oh, you gonna make a thug cry.
Yeah.
For her often and keep her covered in prayer. I also let her know how awesome she is. I appreciate that.
That is some true, true words right there, Ivan.
Y'all gonna make me all emotional and whatnot. Don't do that. So he said, whenever get a chance to speak with, okay, he was finishing his thought. So V Manetta said, I hope you can find a place in the government contracting space. Oh, I hope I can. I'm sorry. I hope I can find it. My purpose is service. I am a behind the scenes person and I am passionate about helping others accomplish their goals. And
I'm
you got to
so
be
glad
more.
you said that. Oh, go ahead, Sheena.
Well, I was gonna say, you gotta be more specific than that too. If she's talking about specifically government contracting, more specific. What was you gonna say, Tamika?
So she said her purpose is service. So, and then she's a behind the scenes. So that sounds like the introvert side of things that I'm thinking. But that's okay. The thing is, you have to hire someone that can be your person, that if they like to speak, if they like to do sales, because you do have to have that person in place. So in each one of the contract companies that I go after and bid after contracts myself, I have a person that does sales, but at any time I can jump in there because now I know my business. I've spent enough time around the SME, which is a subject matter expert, and I can speak enough language to where I don't want to say they think I know what I'm talking about, but now I know more than what I did before. So yeah, it's important for you. And when you say you hope that you find a place in government contracting, just where are you now? Like what services, what NAICS codes are you looking at offering?
And this is not, when I tell y'all, listen, this is not rocket science. Anyone who's ever done another business, me and Ivan talked about it this week. Yeah. Any other business, you have to invest money, time, education. This is one of the easiest as far as understanding what's needed. The government is literally telling you what they want. So stick to what you can understand. If they're looking for rocket ships and you don't deal with rocket ships, don't bid on a contract for rocket ships.
Don't go to NASA.
Don't go to NASA. But Tamika
I have an aerospace background, right? So I have a federal NASA. So yeah,
we can't say that to Tamika. We can't say niche to her.
Like, yes, and I've been with them for I think it's 8 or 9 years now, and it's just like it just keeps renewing because now I know how to go on to, you have to go on and see what's forecasted, and I know how to look at the mission directorates. What is the government's mission?
Right.
What are they spending money on? So now I figured out that niche of, based on where the mission is going, based on what I can offer, I just rinse and repeat. Like, boom, I did it before. I've been doing it this many years for you. Let me keep doing it. And they're like, all right, Tamika. And so about a few weeks ago, right before Christmas, I got an email and they was like, hey, you think you want to do more? What? Say less. As soon as I get back from Africa, I will be.
What agency was this?
NASA. And so
I'm sick of you and loving you at the same time.
It's like, okay, say less, just give me time. And then boom, boom, boom. I've had meetings all week with my teaming partners, and I was like, hey, we contacted Georgia Tech. Hey, can y'all support? Y'all want to be on this contract? You have to have networks and people that are in high places that if you need their expertise, you can be able to pull that in so you can make a contract work. The government wants to know that you can do the job, and they want to know how do you propose that you're going to do that job. And if you can tell them how and who you're working with,
then it's a home run. And look, they don't want to be embarrassed. So they want this to work. So if you feel like you're in a position where, okay, I'm in over my head, then the government is usually going to help you. So you got to just make it work. You don't have to be afraid of this. This is something that they want to make work. Make sure if you're on, hit like on the way in. If you haven't hit like already, it ain't matching up. It ain't matching up. So also, let me get to a couple more of these comments. So mic drop, that was from earlier.
Okay, mic drop.
Mic drop. Sherry said, true that scatterbrain trying to eat the whole elephant will kill you.
Don't do that.
There's too much money in scrubbing toilets. Like, and I always use that example, but it's like there's whatever it is that you want to go into, I can guarantee you there's money there. Like almost always there's gonna be
Oh,
something. You just gotta find the right agency, federal, local, or corporate to get your, get the money up. So let's see.
absolutely.
Okay, she said, well, okay, we missed that. She meant you're right. You typing
Oh,
too fast, Sherry.
I know. I was trying to catch up.
You typing too fast. So going back to your family,
Yeah.
and we won't go, too far into it because I
Oh no,
know that
I'm
I get
transparent.
what's
I'm
that?
transparent. I said I'm transparent, and it is what it is.
But I more so for my side of it, because you know what's going on with me. And I realize in this process of helping other people doing government contracting, it's like once you get that taste for that first contract, it's like your mind, it's like winning the lottery and your mind does something different. It's like
Yeah.
anybody ever seen that episode of Martin when they won the lottery and they came rolling in on that damn
But that truck,
thing
and everybody trying to.
with a fur coat on? Your mind is just different,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so we will often sacrifice the things that are important. And you talked about, hey, after 5, it's cut off.
Yeah.
Unless I can find a moment to do the business. And I just want to expound on that because that is so important. And I'm realizing more than ever now, 2025, my kids are gone. And it's like, wow, I've never been by myself in my life.
Yeah.
So it's different. And I want to make sure that people understand like there's burnout.
Yes.
We always talk about mental health for ourselves, but we don't ever talk about what happens when your family is sacrificed
Yeah.
in this process. And you touched on it a little bit, saying that everybody a part of it. Mama, everybody in my family has
Everybody.
scrubbed the toilet. Okay,
Everybody. Anybody can be hit at any time. At any
I
time.
need some help. And
Yeah.
so we as super like ambitious entrepreneurs, we're like, you need to help me. I don't give a damn what you're talking about. Quit your job and help me. But then we got to remember that this is our path, this is our vision.
This is ours.
And we want support, but sometimes we'll sacrifice everything
Yeah.
to make this work. So can you share some of your, this wasn't a part of our question, so I know I'm putting you on the spot, but can
No,
you
it's
just
okay.
share how you're able to balance it all? Because we know there's no such thing as like
It's
work-life
no such
balance.
thing. Well, what I can say is shout out to the VA. So I had my VA appointment yesterday, and my doctor I've seen for many, many years. I have another doctor, but she's my go-to. And so she was like, have you been taking your blood pressure medicine? I was like, oh no, I am just I don't take it. I don't need it anymore because life
Amen.
is so good. And
Clap
it's
for
just
that.
like, when she saw my numbers, she was just like, you must be taking it like consistently. No, I'm just stress-free. And when it comes to like work-life balance, like I said, I have a child in college and I have a 3 and a 5-year-old. So y'all do the math on that. And it's like I thought I was getting one out the house, and it's like bloop, bloop, back to back. Start all the way over. So I have to have those conversations and those tough conversations with my spouse, with my significant other. And I have to let him know, hey, I can't be that wife right now. I can't be that mother at this moment. Give me a couple days. I got a contract. Like because I write federal grants and I write proposals. And let me tell you, the worst pain is when you spend 2 weeks writing a proposal and you don't win. Yeah.
She's
I
like, let me take a
have
moment.
a closet. Like at my office, there is a closet full of those. I wish I won, but I didn't. And they're just sitting there. But pull them out, dust them off.
Yep.
It may be time. And so I learned that having those conversations with him to let him know, hey, this is my deadline. This is what's coming up. Hey, I have to travel to DC. I have to travel to Texas. I have to do this. Can you work with me on this? And having that conversation helped, because at first we were just arguing and bumping heads. And it's like, I don't know, like, I'm like, are you jealous of me? Like, no, like I was like trying to figure out like you wanted this just as much as I did. Like, why are we arguing? Like, what's the real? And so I had to take a step back and look inside myself and say, Tamika, what can you do better? And that's when that communication piece came in. And that's when you have to rally around to get your family and other people. And now it's time to start hiring people to help you get it done. So maybe I need someone to take my kids to practice, or maybe I need someone to help clean the house because I don't like to come in the house. Like it is what it is. And having those conversations with your family, your significant others, to let them know, hey, when this hits, I'm going to need you at least for the duration of this contract until this time. Can you support me? So I think I hear them coming in the office. So my time may be shut.
No, look, tell him. No.
I hear it, and do you know they're going to run?
Okay, real quick. Okay, before you get like,
yes,
okay.
I hear it.
How can everybody find you? Those who maybe came in a little bit late, make sure y'all hit like on this video because boy, I have more questions. Tamika is so fascinating. How can they find you?
I told them an hour and a half, and they were like, "Okay, it's 2 hours."
They've been at the door. They've been at the door like Crooklyn. They've been at the door like Crooklyn. They were waiting.
Oh my gosh, and I can't find the information because I hear them coming.
That's okay. No, that's all right. Okay, everybody, Tamika gotta go because
I'm gonna come back though, Sheena.
Please have me back. So yeah, I'm gonna have you back. I'm gonna have you back because we got to talk about the nonprofit side. But Tamika gotta go, y'all, and please make sure y'all clap for her because she really is out here doing so much. And she spent 2 hours and 5 minutes with us sharing just a piece of her life. So I appreciate you so much. And can you stay on for a few minutes after this video, me and you?
Yes, got you.
Just like 2 minutes, just 2 minutes.
And everybody just follow me on LinkedIn. That's the best place that you can inbox me. And I may be a week, but I will be in touch with you.
You see her name on the on this thing right here. So
yeah, just look me up on LinkedIn. I'm there. You can always, that cell phone, you send a message, it may get stuck with my virtual assistant, but just go ahead, LinkedIn. That's me right there.
That's her right here. You see her name. So Tamika, thank you so much. Stay on for a few minutes. Y'all make sure you hit like on this, share it with somebody you might think can benefit. Tamika, thank you so much. And everybody said we need a part 2. So until next
done. As long as Sheena brings me back, I'm there.
We got you. I want you back because I got more questions. So everybody else, thank you so much for staying on. Until next time, it's your favorite veteran. Peace out.
Peace out, everybody.